Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can address careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, we thank you all for your commitment and for your support as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So, for all of our listeners and viewers, I want to remind everyone we are in the midst of our monthly promo, our new monthly promos. And what we have encouraged everyone to do, and we'll continue to remind you to do this, is to tune in to WKAPFaith.com, our internet radio station where we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, that will encourage you, it will empower you, and it will inspire you to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. So at 12 noon every day, 12 noon p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, tune in. We want you to stay connected with us and want you to stay tuned in throughout. However, for all of our U.S. listeners and viewers, and we will be doing some promos for our international viewers coming up also. We're working on developing one of those also. But you're going to tune in every day at 12 p.m. And the first three songs you hear starting from 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, you're going to call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line, and you're going to identify those three songs, the name of those three songs, and place your name and email address in the communication, or in the text, or in the voicemail. We will be selecting one of our listeners and viewers during the month to win a case of Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, at FijiWater.com. So remember, 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Tune in all day, every day. But at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, tune in. Identify the first three songs you hear starting at 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And you will call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. And we will select a winner during this month. I'm not going to tell you what day, but we're going to select a winner during the course of this month. And you will win a case of Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, at FijiWater.com. And for all of our listeners and viewers, we want you to continue encouraging your family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues to tune in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We are Facebook Live. We are YouTube Live at Daily Divine Direction. And every Sunday you can tune in at New Life Christian Center, 400 Hillcrest Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. If you're not in our area, you can tune in at 10:45 a.m. And of course, if you're in our area, you can always come and worship with us. Come and be with us. Come and experience a better quality of life. Service begins at 10 a.m. in the sanctuary at New Life Christian Center, 400 Hillcrest Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. come and experience a better quality of life. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that your business is struggling. You say you're not certain how to get things back on track. However, it was once thriving and you believe that it can thrive again. So first of all, let me say this. It does require you to believe, but you got to know this. It not only can thrive again, it will thrive again. What you have to do is do some things differently. So you have seen a shift in your business, in the success of your business. Let me just say this. First of all, you got to remember this. We've come out of a time that no one has ever seen. But we're not going to use the pandemic as an excuse to become stagnant, become complacent, become stagnant. We're going to thrive. I've always said this. The pandemic was not something that I wanted anyone to just survive. We wanted to survive that. Many people did not. But we wanted to survive the pandemic. But more importantly, we wanted to thrive through the pandemic. Your business not only survived the pandemic, it was thriving prior to the pandemic. So you got to know that it will again. And in addition to that, there are ebbs and flows in business. There are going to be peaks. There are going to be cycles where there's going to be peaks, there's going to be valleys, but the reality is it will always, or what we call troughs, where it will remain in the trough for a period of time, and then once again, it'll begin to go on the upward trajectory. So you've got to look around and you've got to say, since you're in one of those periods where your business is surviving, you're still operating your business, you've got to look at what you've done in the past that allowed you to thrive. Then you've got to be creative. You've got to start thinking about what you can do to push your business forward. So let me just say this. You got to start thinking differently. You got to think outside of the box. You've got to, for all of our listeners and viewers, when I talk about thinking outside of the box is what sits on top of our shoulders. We got to think outside of our head. Just what we know we're capable of doing. And we got to know that God is much greater than our thoughts. So if we just stay in the presence of the Lord and think about what God has already done, how gracious he's been, how merciful he's been, but even more importantly, how creative he's been. God created the heavens and the earth. He'll give you ideas. You just have to flesh them out, determine what's feasible, and to then develop, be innovative, begin to develop some new offerings within your business. And think about, most importantly, what God wants you to do. What does God want you to do with your business? Yes, he wants you to employ people. He wants you to treat your customers with dignity and respect. He wants you to give your customers an experience that they may not get at another business. That's how we can do the normal course of business. That's what God wants us to do in the normal course of business. Then you have to say to yourself, okay, God, since you created all things, what can I create that is going to allow not only my current customers, but future customers to become engaged with the business? What else can I do? And you have to be open to that. You can't just say, well, we didn't do that before, because things change. Environments change. People relocate. So what I mean by that is new people will come into your area. They're looking for a place to do business. They're going to explore different businesses until they settle into one that they feel comfortable with. So, I'll use a personal example. I'm not someone who likes I don't like change just for the sake of change. I like change for the sake of progress. So I'm going to give you a real relative example. So I like going to the same restaurants, and if you listen to my wife eating the same things over and over again. That's pretty much who I am. I know what I'm getting, both food, I would say beverage, but I'm pretty much going to drink water. Once in a while, iced tea, and once in a while, lemonade. But most importantly, I'm always going to drink water because I know how important it is to stay hydrated. But having said that, I also know the service I'm going to get. And if I don't get the service that I expect, then I know that there's something not quite right. And if it's service that is not treating myself, or if I have guests appropriately, then I've established enough relationship with the management that I can have a conversation with them about that. But that usually doesn't occur. That's why you keep going back to the same places over and over again. Your new customers are going to be looking for a place that they can go to on a regular basis, even if they're not like me and want to go to the same place all the time. They're going to cycle you through regularly. Now, my wife, on the other hand, she only wants to go out. She, first of all, doesn't want to go any place and dine any place where she can make it the same thing at home. That's the first thing. Second thing is, for her, it's got to be about experience. It's got to be, I want to try this new restaurant, and I want ambiance, and I want a good meal. And usually my issue with that is it usually fits in the palm of your hand. It's one of those meals. So you don't get enough. I don't get enough, but that's a different story. The point is, you have two different people. Even though we're married, we're two different individuals. We just have a different way of doing things. So you're going to have different customers in your community where your business exists. And then in addition to that, you're going to have an online customer. So if you don't have an online customer, if you don't have an online presence, then that's one of the things you're going to have to do differently. There were businesses that closed down during the pandemic because they didn't shift online. I'll give you even bigger examples of that. You have legacy companies that have gone out of business or have been struggling to remain in business because, and these are, when I say legacy companies, these are companies that have been around for a very long time. Decades, a century, whatever the case may be. But they had trouble surviving because they chose not to shift to an online presence when people were moving things online. There were companies that went out of business during the pandemic because, I'll give you an example, restaurants, because they just decided that they were going to shut down as opposed to servicing pickup and delivery. Now, one of the things that my wife and I did, and we talked about this, to support local businesses during the pandemic, we literally would order from a restaurant every week. We weren't going out anywhere because the pandemic was something, not because we were afraid, but because we knew what we wanted to accomplish. We didn't want to get sick. We certainly didn't want to have a medical crisis or a medical emergency. So it was simply for us, go order at a restaurant in the area. We'd pick one, order, pick something up. We did that every week. And that was to support the local businesses. But there were there were restaurants that shut down because they didn't want to offer takeout. They didn't want to offer delivery because they said, employee cost was too high and they weren't making enough money. Those are different dynamics. You're going to get back on track. But while you're getting back on track, make certain that you focus on some additional offerings so that you're thriving again, because you're offering something new to your customers, a new experience to your customers. And your business will get back on track. It not only can thrive again, it will thrive again. Just have to do some things differently. That's all. And you're going to be fine. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer, and you will experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. And this segment is brought to you by PorscheAmerica.com. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com. You will have the opportunity to virtually build out the type of Porsche you desire to own. And if you are in our area, you can go to PorscheDelaware.com. You will ask to speak to Mike Didio, General Manager at PorscheDelaware.com. He will make certain that someone assists you in selecting the Porsche you desire to own. And if you currently own a Porsche and you're in our area and you just are in need of service, go to PorscheDelaware.com. Ask to speak to Mike Adams, Service Manager, PorscheDelaware.com. He will make certain that someone schedules an appointment for you and that your vehicle is picked up at your home or office. They will provide you with the loaner vehicle and return your vehicle to you when service has been completed. PorscheDelaware.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated your children are not living up to their full potential, and you said they are only living in the moment with no thought about the future. So you have 3 children, and your concern is that they're only living for the moment. So, here's the reality. It's a different generation that we're living with. And one of the things I will encourage all of our listeners and viewers who have children to do, if you have millennial children, for example, I will encourage you to continue encouraging them to focus on the future. The present is here. They're going to live in the present, but to focus on building for the future. And the reason is because you want them to be at a place where they're building a life for themselves, not just living an experience for themselves. And so I want to walk you through this because one of the things that's happened in the Christian culture, for example, is that we took a scripture and took it out of context. When the Bible said, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will take care of itself. You don't have to worry about what you wear. You don't have to worry about what you're going to eat because God will provide. And that's a fact. But when it said, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will take care of itself, and I'm giving you the updated living version of that. But the reality is this. It said don't worry about tomorrow. You don't have to be concerned about tomorrow because God has tomorrow in already planned out. Let's just keep it real. Tomorrow's already planned. The day after that's already planned. Next week is already planned. Next month is already planned. Next year is already planned. God knows exactly what he's doing at all times. Here's the reality. We have to keep encouraging them and say it whether they listen today or not. Because at some point, if you say it, it will resonate with them and they'll begin to make some changes. Because life is going to appear. And it's going to continue to appear every day. And at some point in time, they're going to have to take it seriously because as long as we live, life is going to continue to show itself to us. I've used an example long ago. I didn't make it up. It's been around for a very long time. Life happens to us all. What we're trying to do by communicating with our children, all of us who are parents, is we're trying to make them understand that you got to be prepared when life happens. You have to be able to adapt, pivot, and thrive when life happens. So just keep encouraging them to focus on the future. We live in the present. So listen, the past is gone. We live in the present. So we've got to face what we're living with today, every day. And we've got to stop stressing about what we're living with every day. The day is here. It's going to work itself out. God willing that we shall live, tomorrow will come. But we're working to build for the future. That's what we work for. We work to build for the future, because think about this. Where you are today is the work you put in last year, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Where you are today is the work you've put in up until that point. And the reason is because you've been working out your faith. You've been working your faith for whatever period of time. I went to 20 years. 2 decades. So you got to know that where you are now is the work you've put in. The past, whatever we've experienced, whatever we've endured, whatever we've dealt with, is the past. What we're working on now is the future. And they may not listen right now, but you have to keep saying it, because if you keep saying it, at some point, it will resonate with them. It will resonate, because I often think back. There was a gentleman many years ago who said to me, someday your children are going to grow up and they're going to think that they're going to find it hard to imagine how you became so successful, because you're really not too smart. They'll get to that point. And then they'll start trying to do things on their own. They'll start trying to figure it out on their own. And you became successful in spite of yourself, because you're really not too smart. You're really not that bright. That's what he said to me. And I thought, that's really interesting. But then he said, but what will eventually happen is life. And they will realize that's how you did it. That's how you got to where you were, because you were smarter than I thought you were. And at the end of the day, we jokingly had some comment, and he said, they'll pretty much think you're the village idiot, but you fell and bumped your head and got successful. But I say all of that to say, you have to keep talking to them. You have to keep communicating with them. You have to share information with them, and whatever they decide to do on the journey of life, they're going to have to live with. At the same time, it will resonate with them. Oh, my mother said this, my father said that. This is what they meant when they were talking to me about these particular topics and issues. Just keep saying it. You don't like the way they're living right now, because you realize that life can be difficult. And even though they're working every day, they're not living to their full potential, because everything else gets in the way. Got it. However, just keep doing this. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep fulfilling the assignment that God has given to you, and that's to be a parent. Not their friend, just a parent. That doesn't mean you can't be friendly with your children. That just means we're not their peers. We're not going to do the same things that they're doing, because they're the children, even if they're adults, young adults. We all have to realize that the assignment and responsibility of being a parent is what God has given to each of us who are parents, to help our children to navigate life. If they refuse and they want to go their own way, then they'll learn from life experiences. I've always and often said, you're going to learn by 2 methods. You're either going to learn by instruction, or you're going to learn by consequence. Somebody has another one, you can call or text me at the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. You can tell me if there's another one, but instruction and consequence are the only 2 that I know. You're either going to receive instruction, and apply it, or you're going to reject instruction or resist instruction and experience the consequences. So we just got to do things a little differently if we really want to maximize our full potential. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. And if you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And this segment is brought to you by The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. And then I'm going to take a pause on this one, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. So because I want to make sure we go through some other, just remind everyone of what we're doing for our promos. But you have been told by your friend that I have stated that we must operate our lives as a corporation. And first and foremost, let me say this. I thank you for tuning in, and I thank your friend for encouraging you to tune in. Your friend has apparently been with us for a very long time, because I haven't gone through this for a while, and every broadcast is archived on our website for 365 days. Now, on YouTube, they're in perpetuity. And having said that, your friend's been with us for a very long time, because I haven't covered this one in quite a while. But your friend is absolutely right. So you want to know, how do you begin to do that? So you've got to do this. And because you indicated that you're single, and your friend talked about how I've talked about families operating like a corporation. I've said this to my family over and over again, and they're probably tired of hearing me say this, but I say this continuously. You have to, and as a single person, you are your CEO. You're the CEO of your life. So you have to operate your life. You have to have a vision. You have to cast the vision. You have to implement it. You have to operate it. You are responsible for the day-to-day vision of the U Corporation. So I'm just going to go through these briefly, and tomorrow I'm going to pick up on this, because this takes a lot of time. So you've got to be the CEO, which is the Chief Executive Officer. You've got to be the CFO, which is the Chief Financial Officer. You have to be the COO, which is the Chief Operating Officer. And you have to be the CIO, which is the Chief Investment Officer. And you have to be the CTO, which is the Chief Technology Officer of your life. You have to operate your life as a corporation. We all have to do that. Now, for those of us who are married, we did define the roles in our households. You know, who's going to be you have one person who's going to be the CEO, you have one person who's going to be the CFO, you have somebody else who's going to be the COO, the CIO, and the CTO. The C-suite never changes. It's just who's going to be responsible for each of those positions. And so I went through this some time ago, long ago actually, and I will go through it again tomorrow. So stay tuned in. We've got to operate our lives like a solvent corporation. And if we do that, we're going to find that our lives become much more efficient, much more effective, and much more efficient in what we do for the Lord, because that's the only thing that will last. And until the Lord calls us home, we have to last also, but we have to thrive while we're lasting. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast, 3D, has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. Remember, tune in on our internet radio station, WKAPFaith.com, for our promo, the 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The first 3 songs that are played